Welcome back to the channel. Today we're back with our Final Fantasy Commander deck profile with Celes, a Rune Knight, one of the side commanders from one of the Terra precon there. When Celes enters, discard any number of cards and draw that many cards +1. And whenever one or more other creatures you control enter, if one of them was entered from the graveyard or was cast from the graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, allowing us to get a super powerful Celeste if we keep having ways to bring stuff back from the graveyard again and again. The way that minus one counters and +1/+1 counters work is that they will cancel each other out. So you have some good persist abilities here, especially if we have ways to sacrifice them and bring them back, which we do in this deck, and ways to make our opponent take some burn damage off of that. But that's the general overview of the deck. Let's get into it card by card. Like I said, we want ways to sacrifice our creatures in order to make sure that those persist creatures could get to the graveyard, back to the battlefield, back to the graveyard, back to the battlefield. So we have cards like Altered Dementia, Arcane Signet for some additional mana, Astronaut's Altar for another sacrifice outlet for additional mana on top of that, Blasting Station, also sacrifice a creature, deal 1 damage to target creature or player. Whenever a creature comes into play, aka that persist creature comes back, untap it and deal that damage again by sacrificing it again. Cauldron of Souls. Choose any number of creatures, they gain persist in order to make sure we can do the ability again and again. Grinding Station, sacrifice an artifact, target player mills 3 cards. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield, untap it. If we have an artifact creature, we can do it in an infinite amount of times, but I think there's only the one with the persist ability with that in order to mill out our opponents. Phyrexian Altar, sacrifice a creature, 1 mana of any color. Once again, let's sacrifice our persist creatures, deal that infinite damage to our opponents. Or get infinite mana so we can deal infinite damage to our opponents. Soul Ring, Talisman Hierarchy for some additional mana there. 1 ring for some draw power in order to make sure we get to our stuff. And Wishclaw Talisman. Why wait till we draw to our stuff when we could just search it out of our deck? Let's play some Yu-Gi-Oh! Alicia, who laughs at fate. At the beginning of your end step, if you attack this turn, return target creature with mana value less than or equal to Alicia's power from your graveyard to the battlefield, aka Putrid Goblin. If she gets powerful enough, we get Murderous Redcap. Depends what we need at the time. Maybe Lesser Manticore. Blood Artist. This way, when we do sacrifice those persist creatures, we could be dealing the damage to our opponent and aren't just, doing it for fun. Carrion Feeder, another sacrifice outlet, putting +1/+1 counters onto him, getting more and more counters with Celeste. Allowing us just some good abilities there. Ellis Ill, Core's Sadistic Pilgrim. Whenever a creature you control enters the battlefield, you gain a life. Each opponent loses a life. Whenever that creature leaves the battlefield, any game persists, we gain infinite life. Our opponent loses infinite life. Grand Abolisher, let's make sure our opponent can't stop us halfway through that play. Imperial Recruiter. Search the library for your Putrid Goblin, your Lesser Manticore, your Murderous Redcap. Put it right into your hand so we could play it. Karmic Guide. Enters battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. AKA, maybe they removed it before. Removed Celeste, removed one of our persistent creatures while the other one was on the battlefield. So let's get it back, or, just get a good creature back for Celeste's ability in general. Lesser Manticore, card with persist ability, in order to make sure we have something to sacrifice again and again. Loto, Corrupt Sheriff, whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, lose life, draw a card. Sorry, not draw a card. I always think this says draw a card, but it says create a treasure token. But the additional mana is helpful, because we're going to be casting more than 1 spell each turn, normally. Mayhem Devil, whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, aka we deal 1 damage to any target, aka sacrifice Murderous Redcap with Phyrexian Altar, get the infinite mana, deal the infinite damage, all the fun stuff. Murderous Redcap has a persist ability, so it keeps coming back, and then whenever it comes into play, deal damage equal to its power to target creature or player, aka ping out our opponent just by sacrificing again and again, as long as we have Celeste on the battlefield. That's the main part of this, is that we do need Celeste on the battlefield in order to make sure this does go off. Obstinate Gargoyle has flying as long as it's modified, aka the -1/-1 counters, or maybe some +1/+1 counters, but it does have that persist ability, so we have another thing to sacrifice again and again. Pitiless Plunderer, why settle for 1 infinite mana when we can have double infinite mana? Whenever another creature you control dies, create a treasure token, so sacrifice something with Phyrexian Altar, with persists, keep having it come back again and again, get infinite mana, get infinite treasure tokens with that, everything we need. Puppeteer Click, it's another creature with persists. Whenever it enters the battlefield, target creature card from an opponent's graveyard to battlefield under your control gains haste at being in excess of exile. Maybe our opponent was playing a middle deck and they didn't realize what we were doing this whole time somehow, even though it's the whole thing this deck does. So we get to put all their creatures onto our battlefield in order to swing it on them. Future Goblin, their creature will persist, so have it sacrificed again and again. Ranger, Captain of Eos, search your library for a creature card with CMC 1 or less, put into your hand, shuffle your library. We could get our Carrion Feeder in order to get our Sacrifice Atlas, or we could get our Viscera Seer in order to get another Sacrifice Atlas. Is really what we're looking for with that. And you also sacrifice them. Your opponents can't cast 9 creature spells this turn, aka they can counter what we're trying to do. Relentless Apparition, another creature will persist. Relentless Apparition gets +3/+3 till end turn. In theory, you could get the infinite mana, give us infinite power, or 2 times infinite power. Simian Spear Guide, another creature that's easy to get to graveyard. Red mana helps out a whole bunch, or you get the stuff to graveyard even quicker. Sir Conrad Grim, this way we could ping our opponents when our creatures do get sent to the graveyard in order to make sure we're actually having ways to win the game. Terra, Herald of Hope, really good creature in this deck, getting our persist creatures back from the graveyard because most of them are mana value 3 or less. Yeah, let's see it. Viscera Seer as a Sacrifice Outlet, Warren Soul Trader, another Sacrifice Outlet, but you do have to pay life for this one. Do get treasure tokens off as well, though. Zulaport Cutthroat, for that ping in order to do the thing. Enchantments, we have Animate Dead, or get our best creature back from our graveyard. Goblin Bombardment, another Sacrifice Outlet in order to keep dealing that damage again and again to our opponent. Impact Tremors, this way when our persist creatures come back, we could deal the damage to our opponent. And then Necromancy, it has a lot of text. One of our players that had Flash, enters battlefield, under its owner's control, basically bring a creature back from the graveyard to your battlefield. And then for our instants and sorceries, as always, lands, we tend not to scroll draw. I just like to say that you could put $20 worth of lands, you could put a couple $100 worth of lands. It's entirely up to you. Anguish Unmaking for some removal. Burnt Offering, sacrifice a creature for a good sacrifice outlet. Sacrifice a creature to add that creature's casting cost in combination of red or blue to your mana pool. You only have to sacrifice the persist creature once, but you do get those counters on it. Cauldron Haze, choose any number of target creatures. Each of those creatures gain persist. Once again, we like the persist ability in this deck. Cast Warp for kind of removal. Calm the Weak, sacrifice a creature, get some mana. Dark Ritual, some mana. Deadly Dispute, sacrifice a creature, have it come back. Once again, all these things are just sacrificing creatures. They're just going to sacrifice our persist creatures so they keep coming back. Draw 2 cards, get a treasure token, Enlightened Tutor. Let's search out our Goblin Bombardment in order to make sure we can deal all the damage that we need to our opponent. Maybe an Ashnod's Altar or Arcane Signet. I meant Altar Dementia. Entomb in order to get our persist creature to the graveyard, in order to make sure that we can bring it back with like maybe Terror or something. Generous Gift for some removal, Path to Exile for some removal, so on half, get 2 of our persist creatures now. Swords of Plowshares for some removal, Vampire Tutor, search out our persist creatures to make sure we get that ability, and then Red Elemental Blast to stop those counter spells. Buried Alive, get our best thing to our graveyard so we can then revive it. Demonic Tutor, Imperial Seal, search out our best thing in our deck in order to get it into our hand so we can get those plays moving. Persist, give a creature persist. Well, sorry, no, actually, this doesn't give a creature persist. Turn any non-legendary creature you control from your graveyard with a -1/-1 counter on it. But then, Celes, it's basically persist. Reanimate creature, rejoin the fight, mill 3 cards. Everyone puts a creature onto the battlefield under your control. Diabolic Intent, sacrifice a creature. Doesn't matter because it's going to be a persist creature in order to get a sacrifice outlet into our hand to move all of our opponent's life totals. Stitch together in order to get something back from our graveyard. This way, we want ways to recur our stuff so that our opponent can't just remove it once. Unearth, return target creature card, mana value 3 less from the graveyard to the battlefield, aka Putrid Goblin or one of our other good persist creatures. And then Victimize in order to do the same thing basically. But that's the general overview of the deck. If you guys will run this one differently or have your own way to run it, leave it down there in the comment section along with what other commanders you'd like to see us cover on the channel. Subscribe if you like what you saw, along with liking the video. But overall, hope you have a great rest of the day.